And this is America's Mayor Live. I wasn't sure I'd make the show, but I did. I'm sorry that I missed the earlier show, but something came up that was very important that I just couldn't get out of. As you might realize, there's a strange time. But I was able to make this show, and I wanted to begin. I was going to begin the earlier show, so I'll begin this show with my tribute to Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington. Sergeant Pennington is the seventh person to lose their lives in trying to deliver, when we say the Iranian people, the world, from the tyranny of one of the worst regimes in the history of the world. You'd have to put the Ayatollahs, two Ayatollahs, right? The Ayatollahs' theocracy somewhere near the top as a well, they are considered the biggest nation state sponsor of terrorism. Now everybody's gonna get angry at me for this. So I'll do it later. Remind me I have to do something everybody get angry about. Okay, but Sergeant Pennington, is it the first casualty we've had in the Space Force? So Sergeant Pennington is a member of the Space Force, which is of course established. Oh, that color looks so nice, boys and girls. I like it better what you had before. The one right before that was much better. Is that right? Yeah, just put off whatever you put on. Oh, isn't that nicer? Oh, there he is. There's Sergeant Pennington. What? And as I said last night, a very fine looking young man and a very fine young man. He was assigned to the 1st Space Battalion, 1st Space Brigade at Fort Carson in Colorado, which would put you right near the Air Force Academy, right?
Right.
And basically what he does is he works with the military doing GPS tracking, warnings, long haul satellite communications to troops. So, now that we're in this age where we can see everything, right? From way up in space, you need truly gifted specialists to help you do this. And to have them on the battlefield and nearby is often very, very important in order to do communication. So this young man gave his life, number one, to defeat the worst kind of tyranny and oppression and an oppression that affected the United States of America. Thousands and thousands of Americans killed by the Ayatollah's regime. A regime that is unusual in that it probably has killed more of its own people than anything else, which is unusual. China is another example of that, and because of Shah, Baby Shah trying to take over for Shah II. I hate to ever say anything nice about Shah II, but I mean Shah II was a horrible dictator and a guy who killed a lot of people. And the last thing in the world is, do we need him back or his son? But Shah II, as others, fled rather than destroy his own people. He killed his own people, but then when it came to, are we going to destroy them, he left. Baby Doc did the same thing in Haiti. I negotiated with Baby Doc, so this one I can tell you, Baby Doc had the choice of hanging on to power, which he may or may not have done. So this is, but he would have to have wiped out the street, meaning the people in Port-au-Prince who were the major instigators of the removal of Baby Doc, who had to be removed. But unlike some others, like this Ayatollah really made the choice. I'll take them all down with me. I'll take their ship down with me. And give you an idea of how evil. It may even give you an idea of how irrational and therefore When the president of the United States says that they could not be nuclear, he couldn't say anything that is more truthful and more urgent. From the day I heard nuclear weapons and the Ayatollah, the words of my hero, Ronald Reagan, came back to me. And no one really thought more or gave more consideration of mutually assured destruction than Ronald Reagan. Mutually assured destruction was something we settled ourselves into. When the Russians became nuclear, based on spying on us, and when they became not just nuclear, but fairly equivalent, right? Really not as equivalent as we thought at the time, but it is your state of mind that's important. The way in which we dealt with it was peaceful coexistence. And peaceful coexistence meant, as Ronald Reagan would say, that the future of the world rested on the person with the button in America and the person with the button in Moscow being rational. You make a mistake and you put a nut job in either place, bye-bye world. Now, is that a moral way to assure the future existence of God's creation? Mutually assured destruction? So I don't think I mean, I contemplated that a lot. And during the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of discussion of nuclear warfare. You know, if you've ever seen the movie Dr. Strangelove, that would be a comic or satiric example of it. But to have it in the hands of a maniac, I don't know. I remember those words. They meant a lot to me then, but I thought that was very remote. But the minute they got into the hands of the Ayatollah or might, you now have to contemplate that world. And many American presidents did and did nothing about it. This American president did, and he is saving the world from it. That's why he may be one of the greatest American presidents. Who knows? Maybe at the top. I mean, the lefties will go crazy. The lefties will go crazy.
He's already up there.
But they help make him this way because they push him. They push him to accomplish because he knows. There was one thing I was thinking that he expressed, I think today. I don't know if you can find it. I just remember it. So think on this and see if we can find it. Sometime today or yesterday, when he was giving his reasons for acting now, the president said, maybe there'll be a president that doesn't have the gumption to do this. I don't know what exact word, so I better do it now because he knows he does. So Ted will know that from the time he's been president, I feel that way. I feel like he has to do this.
Yes.
Because we have to get rid of this guy. We don't want to kill anybody. He killed himself.
Right.
He made his own choice. This was, suicide by the U.S. military or Israeli military.
Suicide by,
yeah. I mean,
great way of putting it.
They gave him every chance.
Every chance.
And he could have.
Look at Venezuela. He could have looked at Venezuela if he didn't think we were bluffing.
I mean, Putin's got a whole village of them, right? Putin's got a whole village of these monsters. Who the hell knows what they do there?
Right. Every chance in the world.
Well,
countless opportunities.
Do we have any video from the return of Sergeant Pennington to the United States that happened? I guess happened late last evening, right?
Right. So we have that. Was that, I believe, with the vice president on hand?
Do you know that Sergeant Pennington had 3 Army Commendation Medals and a Global War on Terrorism Service Medal? That's a lot for a young kid. This had to be like a really tremendously important asset to us, and of course to his family. What can I say to them? I never knew the right thing to say to my police officers' families and my firefighters' families and the others who lost their lives in the line of duty. And I'm talking about before September 11, when it became Impossible. But that's why I love them so much. Nobody does what they do. Sergeant Pennington and the 6 others who have lost their lives, and all of the others who have lost their lives in the war on terrorism. It's a one singular, oh, there it is. And at night, it had an eerie feeling about it that is quite appropriate. I will guarantee you that every one of those men and women in uniform has goosebumps right now. They're going through a number of emotions, honor, respect, fear that it could happen to them, questioning if they could be a hero at that moment in time. If you don't question it, you won't be. Because if you don't feel any fear, then, well, you're not really a hero. You're just insane. I mean, if somebody's pointing a gun at me and I run at them and take the gun away, and I just don't think the gun is dangerous, I'm not a hero. I'm just a tough guy. But if I know that the gun's got a bullet and the rational thing is this guy's going to blow me away and I still go at him and try to stop it, then I'm a hero. Okay. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Right. And there you see Vice President Vance, who has to be even closer to this than normally would be the case, because he has put his life in jeopardy in service of his nation, and also been commended for it. Yes. So God bless you. And we will say a short prayer. If I may, I'll say it rather than a silent one, but you can pray in your way. I'm going to pray as a Christian and a Catholic, but you're more than invited to join me in your religion, whether it's another type of Christian, or if you're Jewish, or if you're Muslim. Well, we're going to discuss the Muslim religion tonight because it's important to discuss. It's important to understand, and it's important to be honest about it. And we're not. We're extraordinarily dishonest about it, and many of them are too. But, dear God, receive the soul of this wonderful young man who's being taken from us and from his family, but being brought to the ultimate place where we're all headed, and to our Creator. And I know, dear God, that you'll give him a very, very wonderful place in paradise. The angels are probably preparing it for him, if it isn't prepared already. But mostly, dear God, what we need you to do is to give his family the grace to find a way to accept the most difficult thing that will ever happen to them. And the rest of us. These losses are tremendous for us. I've heard people say, God, that, oh, it's only 7, and look at how much has been accomplished, and only 1 is too much, because they're all your children, and on their side too. So pray for the repose of his soul, Sergeant Pennington. Pray for his family, and pray for all those who are dying, because the world has to be made safe from this insane terrorism. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Now you say the prayer your way, because that's where we are in America, and that's what the Ayatollahs deny them. And that's one of the things that's most important to the MEK and the NCRI, which we're going to talk about later, and why it's so important that they play a very, very important role in organizing this. The president is putting a great deal of focus on the Straits of Hormuz, and he's doing that in a way for the rest of the world. Yes. If the Straits of Hormuz are shut down, it'll affect America. The country will be the least affected in the world? America. Of course, it'll affect everything else, and therefore our prices will go up. But for us, it'd be a difficulty. For many in the world, it would be a catastrophe, because they get all of their oil or energy from the Gulf of Hormuz, and they'll be finished. So he has made, first of all, very serious. I hate to call them threats because threats usually sound like what somebody who isn't going to do it does. I don't know. They shouldn't. I mean, a threat by a serious man is really serious. Well, this is a serious man. And he has said if they close the Gulf of Hormuz, that the destruction that he will have to inflict on them will be catastrophic, beyond anything that we've done. He's trying to avoid that. And he's trying to avoid it by what he did today, which is he's taken out a lot of their ships. Now, I thought I heard the number 10. 10 ships were taken out
16,
today.
Well, now it's up to 16.
Today.
Yes.
So
Around the Straits of Hormuz.
So this morning, Secretary Hegseth said this would be the most intense day of the war. That alone makes it the most intense day of the war. Can we listen to Pete? Do we have Pete? Who my admiration for Pete has always been very, very high. I know Pete from the time he was a young man, and I'm sorry, I'm much older than he is. He was a delightful young man, but I am so proud of him. I know my other good friend, Marco Rubio, gets great credit and completely deserved. And I'm proud of him too, but I'm not surprised.
Right. No, we were just talking about that last
I
time.
expected it from Marco.
Right.
I expected Pete would be good. I didn't think he'd be great. And I didn't think he'd be perfect for the times that we're in. And it's not just the war, that he's a wartime Secretary of War. It's the morale that he brings to the military. And I'm going to tell you, as former head of the police department and fire department, of all the things that I did, probably the most important thing I did to reduce crime is bring morale to them. And then all of the ingenious ideas, some from me, some from others, some just on the fly, work better. You could have the greatest strategies. You got people that don't want to carry them out, forget it.
Well, and talk about recruitment too. The numbers are
The
just
recruitment went up like that. The recruitment went up the last month of Biden's presidency. And it wasn't because they were saying goodbye to Biden. Yep, it was that they were saying goodbye to Biden.
and hello to a much more military-friendly administration.
And now we don't have a recruitment problem, which also means the qualifications just necessarily forget even any kind of DEI or whatever. When you have very few recruits, necessarily you have to lower the qualifications. It's just natural, right? You need the people. When you have a lot of recruits, the qualifications go way up. It's like when we're not at war, the military is very, very strict about who they take. When we are at war, they'll take you if you can breathe. Used to be the expression. So let's take a look at Pete.
Today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead.
Well, you couldn't be clearer, could you? I mean, and today was exceptional in what we were able to accomplish. I led with the Gulf of Hormuz because it's so critical. You know, you wouldn't think in a war, you think you fight the army fights you, the Navy, and it's the casualties. But we're in a different age. It's a different kind of war. And the amazing thing about the president, the secretary of war, his advisors, are going to give you a name that you don't know, who's a critical part of this, Stephen Feinberg, who was this deputy secretary of war. Man is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. When you look at where we were when Trump came in, behind China, behind everybody, not behind, but falling behind. And you look at us now, not just where we're going, but where we are now. And if you don't think that both Putin and Xi Jinping are sitting there looking at, could we handle that? Well, Putin couldn't. The other guy has gotten rid of every general who ever fought a war in China. That means if, God forbid, we had to go to war with China, they've never been in a war. And we've been in constant wars, haven't we? Every kind of war. You name it, we've been in it. Well, that's where it stands right now. Do you have some good statistics for today, for this most intensive day of the war, day 11, right? Day 11? It is day 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, we're still waiting. Then, it takes a little bit of turnaround time to get the final figures.
They say that the activity was more than at any other time during the war.
Well, yes. And one of the biggest factors when people are determining this, like when we were researching the statistic of what was this the most devastating day, one of the statistics that people look at is the amount of tonnage of explosives that are dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, no one's going to know for sure that number. And I think that's by design. But when you're looking at people are guessing 2,000 ton bombs and in the high double digits of them. So we're talking, a lot of bombs.
16 mine laying ships near the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Central Command said that U.S. forces eliminated 16 of these.
I wonder how many they have. Good.
So that's the U.S. Central Command reporting on that.
I know. I don't know if they have numbers yet, but we were doing a joint operation over Tehran. Usually, the hits on Tehran are handled by the Israelis, although of course we've done some very important ones, and we do the ones in the outer part of Iran, particularly the bunker busters and the ones that require using bombers rather than fighters, or rather than just missiles.
Right.
But there was today a joint operation over Tehran. I think you and I know why, right? They're looking for somebody, right? And in the process of looking for somebody, they're decimating the leadership of the IRGC, and they're decimating the facilities of the IRGC. And I would say, and I'd have to ask, and we will. I would say it isn't unfair to say that 40% of our concentration, which means Israel and us together, is on Tehran. Now, why is that? Because that is the nerve center, much more so than is often the case. That is the nerve center of the regime. And if you can't overcome the IRGC in Tehran, you're going to eventually control the country. And I think in some of the outer areas, they have already overcome. So I got a briefing yesterday from somebody who is in constant communication with the dissident groups inside of Iran. And yesterday, this is yesterday's number. I haven't got one for today yet, although I was told that there were more today. There were 40 engagements by Iranian, let's call them dissidents, freedom fighters. And they were about a third in Tehran and the other 2/3 outside of Tehran. And they were fairly large engagements, 40, 50 people, and fairly small ones, 10, 12, against the IRGC, taking out significant significant headquarters or groups of people. So it isn't reported. I don't know that we don't know it, or there's a certain bias in the reporting of this war. But there's much more. There's much more activity. There's much more activity that I would call citizen activity than we realize.
Right.
So we're going to keep you up with that, and we're going to try to get you some real information about it. And we're also going to take a fairly good look at two things a little later on in the show. We can take a look, of course, at New York, which would it's amazing for me to look at the pictures. That is my house.
Yeah.
I want you to think. I tell Stephen and
Ted.
And Ted. Yeah, right. Is that your name? That's your name. Stephen and Ted.
Days. Yeah, I've been called worse.
You keep doing that. They're going to think I use an auto pen.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. You know, it wouldn't be bad if I used an auto pen if I knew what I was doing. Like, you know, sign the letter to so and so.
Yeah.
Or sign the appointment. Now, for me, that's a disgrace. I don't know. I know I'm wasting time with this, but I signed every single damn certificate where I appointed somebody. There's a whole group of former assistant United States attorneys out there that have a certificate with my name on it as Associate Attorney General, done with my black ink pen that I use for every single one. Of course, as mayor too. Like I had an auto pen sign laws. Are you kidding? Well, but we are going to spend some time on what happened in New York. We are going to spend some time on the religion and how the religion figures into this. And very shortly when we come back, we're going to have a very, and you've met her before, a very knowledgeable, very involved with the dissident movement, American of Iranian extraction. And she's going to give us her views, particularly about the young people who I am told by my sources about Iran are at the forefront of a lot of what's happening here in Iran. We're going to take a brief message to prove to the world that we're capitalists, and that's a good thing because we want to make some money. We like to eat and drink and take care of our families. By drink, I don't mean, you know.
Diet Coke.
I mean Rudy's coffee. That's what I mean.
Rudy's coffee and Diet Coke.
So we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Wait. We'll get it right here. There you go. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
This is Rudy Giuliani. I'm back with America's Mayor Live. Introduce our guest, Ted.
Well, Mayor, we have a very,
I got to get this pen working.
very special guest with us in studio, a good friend of the show, Mickey Mohammadi.
See, how are you? Nice to see you in person. You've been on 2 or 3 times, remote from
Wait, that means
Maryland?
From Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay. And you're a student, correct?
Yes, I am currently a law student at Penn State. So
Oh, at Penn State.
yeah, that's why I'm in Pennsylvania.
Very good, very good, very good law school. So, Missy, you have been involved for how long with the movement regarding, overthrowing the Ayatollah and putting a government there that would give rights to women, a government like the United States?
Well, mainly since high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I started a human rights club based off of a lot of the work that the NCRI and MEK do, particularly for the people in Iran. And now that I'm in law school, I have more of a chance to actually do more. So it's been very rewarding.
How'd you get involved?
Through my stepdad. He had a brother that was fighting in the 1988 during that summer. I know the other day you mentioned all the people that were killed.
That's the summer. They killed about 20.
He was one of
the period of, they killed 120,000.
Yes.
There's a period they killed 20,000. I think about 20,000.
Yeah.
They actually tried to wipe out MEK, not realizing how big it was.
Yeah, and now we have a bunch of units still in there. And even though a lot of them did flee to America and Europe and other neighboring countries, the presence inside of Iran is still very much prominent and ongoing.
Well, yesterday I spent about an hour going over with one of their leaders. He gave me a briefing on what they've been doing inside of Iran. And they're very active. Now, it doesn't get reported, neither their activities or some of the others, but there's a lot of street fighting going on. A lot of, as he said, yesterday there were 40 that they tracked, 40 situations where MEK or NCRI, which is the umbrella group, or in some cases independent groups. No, MEK was 40. The independent groups was another 10 or 15, where they attacked IRGC.
They all kind of, communicate with each other.
Either they attacked the facility, the people, but he said there's a lot of pressure and a lot of it is concentrated in Tehran.
Yeah.
So there is actual fighting going on.
Yeah.
And therefore, the more you reduce them, obviously the easier it's going to be.
And they'll keep popping up all over. And for us, legitimacy is established, and especially through this particular climate, there's no real way to gauge the actual political opinions of the people of Iran in a legitimate way. So the only real thing that gives us legitimacy is through the resistance units, is through the bloodshed and fighting. So
that's a very good point. Sure, you can't really take a poll. You can't go around with a microphone and ask people questions like Ted likes to do.
hopefully one day.
Real soon. I really do believe it'll be real soon. So tell me how it's received among young, particularly young people, the people who join this movement? Are they mostly of Iranian descent, or are they mixed?
I would say mainly it is the Iranian descent. We see a lot, the minorities that work with us very well, like the Kurds, Azerbaijans that you've mentioned before. They're all very much passionate and lively about this. I mean, right now there's so much going on that the time is now. And so because of that, the people are, we've seen them come out into the streets and things like that. But now they're taking it to social media and they're using their voice. And it's been such an honor to be a part of such a liberating movement that is actually implementing change that is sustainable inside of Iran.
And are you hopeful?
I am. I'm always hopeful.
So you've been involved, high school, you've been involved 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, for quite some time now. Yeah, I started a human rights club in high school, and then I did some work here and there in my undergrad, and now being in law school, I have more so immersed myself into the work of the NCRI, and especially during this critical time. And
your stepfather got you involved, and how many people do you think you've gotten involved?
Yeah, and I just want to preface that by saying, yes, it was my stepfather that got me involved, but oh my gosh, I was so combative.
So he didn't know what he let. He doesn't know what he let loose, huh?
Yeah, but it was one of those situations because a lot of people like to say, "Oh, your family is the reason why you're involved." Well, I was super. Well, yes, of course, that's one reason.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But there are how they say, "Oh, you're Republican because your family's Republican." That is not the case with this because when this happened, and like I said, I went to law school, or I'm going to law school because of the questions I have and the interest.
Did this help you in high school make up your mind that you wanted to go to law?
Yes, it did. Actually, it did. And I'm a truth seeker. So when I'm presented with these political ideologies, I look into it myself. So after looking into it myself, I still came to the same conclusion.
Have you ever been to Iran?
I did when I was 2.
Oh, but you don't remember it.
Yeah. Actually, my
little memory.
I do have a little memory in there. My first,
Tell me.
It was. Oh, this is actually kind of. It was.
Well, if you can.
I was 2. No. It's a little bittersweet. I was 2 years old, and I went to my uncle's house in Iran, and they had a little farm, and I specifically remember my uncle took a little knife and slit this sheep's throat in the middle of the driveway, and I was so sad and freaking out. And I ran upstairs, and I remember him coming up to me. He's like, "This is the cycle of life. You kill and be eaten." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so."
It's very interesting that Dr. Maria and I were reading last night part of the book of Leviticus in the Bible, and God gives God gives Moses and Aaron very, very specific instructions on how to do sacrifices. So it's kind of odd when you're reading about. And then take the lamb and make certain it's a purified lamb, and slit it by the throat. Take the blood and splash the blood on the altar, and then it's very specific instructions. Cut off the head, and then some of it is used as sacrifice to God, and they have different sacrifices. Confessional sacrifice and Thanksgiving sacrifice, but it was a very big part of ancient Judaism. Animal sacrifice was a very big part of it.
I think this was just for dinner, but
yeah. No, they ate them too.
But yeah.
No, wait a second, it was very practical.
No, yes, you're correct.
They also ate them. I mean, they certainly ate them, and one of the good reasons to be a priest was you got to eat first.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was still a good moment. It was still a good memory. And, I can't wait to go back. And that is a real good symbolism of the Iranian culture. We're very much kind of farmers, and our agriculture is very alive.
You also were very much scientists.
Yes.
The original religion of Persia was Zoroastrian.
Yes.
Which, although it was a fairly it's hard to determine if it was a multi-god or it was a very scientific religion.
I believe it was one.
And it had a lot to do with knowledge that we obtained about astronomy and the stars. And it was a very, very kind of a scientific religion.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's still alive. In
Very
Iran
small,
today.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very small. I actually met a Zoroastrian in DC a couple months ago, and we were talking a little bit about it. But yeah, it's definitely a more ancient religion.
Well, they fled when they were, the purpose was a genocide, to get rid of them. And they fled really to like Iraq and Turkey, and then they came back over time. And they are considered one of the ethnic minorities.
Yes. Yeah.
So you should know that the NCRI and Madam Rajavi's 10-point plan, number 7, is that the ethnic minorities will all be an equal part of Iran, but they will negotiate a certain degree of autonomy for them. And the 2 main ones have accepted that. The 4 main Kurdish parties in Iran have accepted that and have put the lie to the Shah, who says that the army should eliminate them because they'll be separatists. Now they say, no, we're not going to be separatists. We have at various times in the history of Persia and Iran been given autonomous status, although we are Iranians, and that's what we want.
Yeah, I mean, that plan includes the Kurds and includes that's the difference between, Reza calling them separatists and
you see, and if you go through those 10, you see how well thought out this is. These issues that if let's say we overthrow the Shah and a new government starts, a lot of these issues have been anticipated, which wasn't done in Iraq and wasn't done in some of the other places.
Well, they're drawing upon history and learning from what history has taught us. And history has taught us that when we exclude minorities, that is going to lead to
They're part of what makes Iran Iran. They're anywhere from 40 to 46% of the population, depending on who you listen to. So this will be very, very. You're going to, I'm sure, stay involved heavily, but you're also looking forward to going there, I'm sure.
I am, yeah.
We all are.
And going just back to the religion part, the nice thing about this movement is that a lot of people, like Christianity, is growing so much inside of Iran, and becoming, and as we move towards more of this secular and moving away from becoming just an Islamic state, we're going to see the actual people inside of Iran, the religion that they have is so colorful. It's so diverse. It's not just Islam. It's Christianity. It's Judaism.
Zoroastrian. They have Buddhists.
Buddhists.
They have Buddhists or undercover Buddhists, I guess.
All of them are essentially undercover.
I mean, because depending on where there are some parts of Iran where the regime doesn't have as much influence as others, where you can get away with it. But when they crack down, everybody gets killed. Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much, and thank you for what you're doing. This is enormously important, and it's enormously important to see how many young people are involved.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
God bless. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Now, if this is, I don't know if this is true, so I don't want to react to something that isn't true. It says that the president and the majority leader of the Senate are clashing on the save vote, and first of all, that clash should be over immediately. The majority leader serves the president. Yeah, I know the Senate and all this other stuff. They wouldn't have the Senate if it wasn't for Donald Trump, and they're not going to have the Senate if it isn't for Donald Trump. And number two, this is a question of what's right and what isn't right. And when the question is what's right and what isn't right, and you are having the reservations that Thune has, you're a typical Washington useless politician. I'm sorry, John. Tell me exactly what the heck is objectionable about having to produce ID when you vote. Every place you go, including when these phony Democrat politicians who now oppose ID, they require ID to protect their sorry asses. This is the phoniest argument I've seen. So push it. That's what they do for bad things. Why can't we do it for good things? What's wrong with us? This is why people think the only person in the party with a spine is Trump. John, you're a big guy. Look at the size of you. Schumer is a detestable traitor of an old man. Make a fool out of him. He's a complete fool. He wants people to vote, and we don't know who they are. Now, there's only one reason you would do that. There's only one reason in the world you would do it, because you want to cheat. If I said I'm going to hold a meeting here, do my show here, and we want 100 people, and I say anybody can come in, given the present climate, there's a chance somebody will come in and wants to kill me. I know that. I've lived with this forever. So unless I'd like to get killed, I'll take some steps to make sure that we have some security. I'm not going to have the security the president has, but I'll have security. So I like John, and I think John's done a good job, and I like him a lot better than the guy who sucked up to Red China forever and got away with it, McConnell, who walks out a multimillionaire because his father-in-law, who is very close to the Red Chinese regime, gave him money. I like him a lot better than that. And I understand the tactical problems of this. But this is critical to their not being able to just, please don't think I'm exaggerating this, destroy the United States of America, which they could do if they ended up being able to run elections like the one they ran in 2020, which was wide open and crazy and insane and crooked as hell. And I don't care who wants to take me off what. That just happens to be the truth, and history will bear out everything that I said. So here's my message to my fellow Republicans. The SAVE Act is critical to saving our democracy. It is critical. that people not be able to cheat when we vote. If you require photo ID, you will assure that the election is an honest one. Conversely, if you are enthusiastically in support of no ID and everybody that wants to coming in and voting, then you are certainly in favor of rigged, fixed elections. So please, my fellow Republicans, stick with the president. And Democrats, stick with America. Come back. Let's be Americans again. If you win, you should win fair and square. That's what a democracy is based on. So let's see what happens. The shooting in New York. The shooting in New York, not the shooting, I'm sorry, the attack in New York, the attempted attack in New York, using this a very dangerous weapon, which is technically described as a weapon of mass destruction. I think you know the general facts of it. We covered it last night. Ibrahim Qayyumi, who's 19, and Emar Ballad, who's 18, who grew up in what would be considered pretty Americanized immigrant families. This is, one of the situations that we find that's very difficult now is that some of the groups do not assimilate. We see that in Minnesota, right? You see it in parts of Detroit, outside of Detroit, in Dearborn. You see it in England all the time. These two guys, as far as I can tell, assimilated. One was a Afghanistan family that came here decades ago, apparently legal, right? And the other family is from, let's see, do you remember where they're from? Turkey. Now, Turkey is a lot more extreme Islamic than you think, because Erdogan is a snake, and he will very often try to look like he's on both sides. But here is the attack. Now, it's very, very odd for me to look at that. I live there. Think if you were now, think if you lived someplace, and I lived in that neighborhood, that specific place for 8 years, in that neighborhood for 18 years. I used to run there. I used to take my children in that park to play, in Carl Schurz Park. I used to take my dog to the dog patch there. And that's before I was mayor. Now you're looking at they're hanging on the fence for Gracie Mansion right there.
We want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside.
As you know,
and then tell everyone else.
A left-wing, anti-American, American-hating Democrat who is he's one of the members of the Mandani regime, pronounced originally that this was done by a racist Christian nationalist who was trying to kill Mandani. Now, that was his hope. I would like to help straighten this guy out. I think his name is Holly something Siegel. Yeah. Holly Poopy Siegel. I would like to straighten him out because I'd like him to produce for me some examples of Christian nationalists. Yeah, what is that? Are they the people in New York that go to the Latin Mass like the crooked Attorney General was going after? So these two guys came from Pennsylvania. Qayyumi lives in a $2.25 million home in Newtown. Balat lives in a $653,000, 3,200 square foot home in Langhorne. One is very upper middle class, and the other is upper middle class. Both of these guys so far don't seem to have a criminal record. Their parents from Afghanistan and Turkey Balat's parents from Turkey became citizens in 2017. I don't know how he's a citizen. Maybe he was born here. If he is, I guess he is. So they have become, it said, radicalized online. However, they did make a trip, I assume together, to the Middle East last year, which I don't know. I think that should have raised some flags. But in any event, when they showed up with these improvised devices, I think it was, if you look at that, I think it was Kasumi who first threw it. Then he ran about half a block or more, and his co-conspirator Balat handed him another one, which he I think also threw. Neither one went off, only because they're probably not as good as they think they are. But both of them were fully operational. And this is the kind of explosive that often can go off without necessarily being ignited. It can go off with impact. And according to the preliminary report, this would have taken out, let's see if I can give you a sense of, probably could have reached part of Gracie Mansion. Probably the ballroom part of Gracie Mansion. Would it have killed people? Absolutely. And it was aimed at the counter demonstration that was going on. I mean, there was a demonstration in favor of freedom in Iran. And I guess also a demonstration against Mandani, who we know we know what side he's on, right? Is it any big secret? So that produced a demonstration, a counter demonstration of the usual paid suspects. The guys who don't shower. They get so much money. I don't know why they don't take showers, but they showed up. And I don't think there was any violence yet. I don't think so, but it was getting to be kind of testy. And they came over the George Washington Bridge, and we know that because they can register the car coming over at 11:30 or so in the morning. Within an hour, they're throwing their devices, the two of them at the pro freedom demonstrators, clearly not Christian nationalists, clearly supporters of ISIS, which they made abundantly clear in spontaneous declarations. Spontaneous declarations are things that people who are arrested say on their own, and they're not questioned. They don't need Miranda warnings. But even after Miranda warnings, they wrote out, or at least I think Qayyumi did, a whole explanation of why he was doing this for ISIS and for Allah and for Muhammad. Now, there's no one that will draw the following conclusion, because we're living in a state of euphemistic euphoria. To the point where it's costing us many, many lives. And do you want to know what that is? This is President Bush a week after September 11. The Islamic religion is a religion of peace. No. The Quran is a book filled with invocations to murder, with specific focus on Christians and Jews, but on all infidels. What they were doing is completely authorized and recommended by a literal reading of the Quran and the words of Muhammad. So if they say they're following the words of Muhammad, which they say, they are correct. And those who elect to avoid it are just getting us set up for another attack, just like they did after September 11, and everybody became ignorant of reality and history. The 19 people who came to New York and eventually created destruction in Pennsylvania and in Washington, and effectuated the greatest terrorist attack in American history, were not just terrorists. They did it for a purpose and a reason. And they announced the reason over and over again, Allahu Akbar. They did it for Allah. That's the God symbol that Muhammad created in the Quran. He was, in fact, a pagan god of the Zoroastrian religion, which he brought over. And rather than use the Hebrew versions or the Christian version, he came up with his own. Now, we don't know if Allah was the creator of the. I mean, little things don't get filled in by Muhammad in the Quran, because the Quran was, by tradition, it was dictated to Muhammad by the angel Gabriel. Now, this is really interesting because we don't know how he wrote it down because he was illiterate. He was illiterate. He couldn't read and write. But he wrote the Quran. Okay. Now, whoever wrote the Quran, half of it, the guy should be in a nut house, right? Don't be friends with Christians and Jews. If you have to kill them, kill them. Please get the world straightened out for the last judgment. We don't need any of them around by that time. You will be rewarded if you die in the name of spreading the religion by killing the infidels. And then we get into the 72, 79 virgins, which needs a little interpretation. It's both in the Quran suggested and then spelled out in several of what are called the authoritative hadiths. Hadiths are commentaries written about the Quran by Islamic scholars. And there are numerous ones, like there are apocryphal gospels. But there are 3 or 4 that are very authoritative. And the single most authoritative spells out in great detail what happens to you in paradise if you are a warrior who dies in the name of spreading the religion. You are rewarded with all the women that you can handle. If you think this religion is like Christianity and Judaism, you're wrong. You're wrong. There is a part of the Quran, roughly half, in which the things that Muhammad wrote were acceptable and in some cases kind of nice. This was the first Muhammad, the one who wanted to spread the religion to his fellow Arabs in Mecca and to the Christians and the Jews. So he developed this very elaborate connection from Abraham through Moses to Jesus to the ultimate now Muhammad, the greatest of all prophets. And he claimed that he took a trip to paradise, where he met all these prophet people. And then he came back and he started lecturing about it in Mecca. So first he went to his tribe, and they knew him. And sometimes he would get interrupted while he was giving these by having like a fit. He'd go on the ground and he'd have a fit. Now, we don't know what that is. Some scholars believe he was an epileptic, which they wouldn't have known then, and attributed to his being possessed by the devil. Others say it was part of his paranoid schizophrenia. But in any event, this took away from his persuasive ability. Right? So he's coming to these rich Arab business people in Mecca, and he's saying, "I want you to, become part of my religion. We'll bring in the Jews and the Christians, and we'll have one religion. And I'm the spokesman for God, for Allah." And they say, "Get the hell out of here! What are you, crazy? Get out of here!" Some nut who gets down on the floor and spitting, doing all kinds of stuff. "What have you written?" "Well, I don't read and write." "Oh, that's good. But Gabriel told you these things? You just, what do you have? You have a photographic memory or something?" Then that didn't work, and he went to the Jews and the Christians. I've forgotten which order, but they both kicked him out. They said, "Get the hell out of here. We're not giving up Jesus or Moses for you." That got really angry, went out in the desert, and to make a long story, which is now 1,400 years old, short, he appealed to the Bedouin, the illiterate, volatile, militaristic tribes. They loved it because part of it meant they could come in and attack the rich Arabs and take over and they did. And then we have, from then on, from the time he got on a horse and led his army into a town and slaughtered, a third of the people there, the way the regime does, he turned from a quasi-religious leader to a monster. And yet you'll have Islamic scholars saying he was a perfect man. The attack of September 11th and the attempted attack the other day come about for the same reason, to spread the Islamic religion. That's why all those New Yorkers and Americans were killed. That's why my firefighters lost their lives. That's why the people in the Pentagon were killed, people on the plane. They were killed to spread the Islamic religion. And that's why those two kids or people or whatever you want to call them, that's what they were radicalized by. It isn't something magical. It isn't something we can't understand. We understand it, but we don't confront it. Instead, we say things like, Islam is a religion of peace. Can't you read? If it's a religion of peace, why is half the book taken up with how to kill infidels? Can't you see that the book is rearranged so it's not in chronological order, so you can't figure it out? And don't you look at the 1,400 years of warfare? And I'm still looking for the country that was converted by preaching, like St. Paul or St. Peter or Moses with the 10 Commandments. St. Peter and St. Paul didn't come in with a Christian army and kill the 10 oldest people and take over the town. Muhammad did that. So until we face up to this, we're going to be dealing with this. We can do a lot of things to protect ourselves. We can do a lot of things but that's the core ingredient that brings them together. We lost a lot of ground under Obama, because Obama wouldn't allow you to classify things as Islamic extremist terrorism. Like the guy at Fort Hood, who walked in yelling Allah Akbar and shot up all these people. And they said, well, you couldn't tell why he did it. What are they supposed to do? Well, these guys actually wrote it out and told you. It'd be hard to say we don't know why they did it. The guy was anxious. I mean, he incriminated himself. He was anxious to tell you he was doing this to spread Allah and Muhammad. So the president is. So I want you to realize that, recognize it. And the important thing is, you say, well, how do you reach out then to Muslims? Here's how you do it. It's an old religion, like Christianity and Judaism is an old religion. I can find parts of the Bible, not as offensive as that, but offensive. They've been removed. Jews don't stone women anymore. And they stopped doing it before Jesus told them not to do it. In fact, they were testing Jesus to see whether he knew the new teaching. And of course, pretty hard to outsmart God. pretty hard to outsmart God. That was one of his more brilliant maneuvers, right? When they said, "What do you do? What do you do with this woman? She was cheating on her husband or whatever." And he took a good look at him, and he said, "Well, one of you that whoever hasn't committed a sin, cast the first stone." Man, if I did that in New York, everybody would have to run away. Imagine I went to a bunch of guys in New York and they wanted to stone a woman for adultery. And I said, whoever hasn't, cast the first stone. Boom. Be nobody left. The only one left might be the new Ayatollah, who's impotent. I don't know. This really isn't important. But in any event, we're going to spend time on it. Because he's a murdering pig and he deserves to be humiliated. But you know, he's been in 4 hospitals. And don't you find this a little strange? Do you know what allowed him to reproduce himself? A British hospital. And he finally had a kid. A guy like this shouldn't have a kid. Neither should the person who bore him, the Ayatollah, who, by the way, selected someone else to be the Ayatollah, who's looking around for virgins now, gone. And actually in his will, just in case, imagine writing in your will, my kid shouldn't be the Ayatollah. Or any of my kids. You got a couple other, well, he used to have kids. I think they're all gone, but this idiot. Maybe he was embarrassed that the guy, you know, I have no idea how they react to impotency in that culture, but in any event, maybe he was embarrassed about him. I don't know, but the man is as insane as his old man, and I don't see him being any kind of bridge to anything. In fact, the big rap against him in Iran is it's nepotism, kind of like the Shah, right? Why does the Shah's son have any claim on this at all? He's never led an army. He's never run a business. Never worked a day in his life, as far as we can tell, or done anything of any significance. Never shown the capacity to handle a complex government at a very critical time. There's only one reason his name is mentioned, because he is the son of the murderer who used to run Iran, who, with all the nice things you want to say about him, of which there are some, he was a murderer and a thief. Please, again, like you get euphemistic about Muhammad and all, don't get euphemistic about the Shah just because the Ayatollah was much worse. Otherwise, the poor Iranian people are going to go from very bad to bad, but not to freedom or decency. And they're not going to be of much value to us because they'll be led by a regime that'll double cross us anytime it felt it was necessary to do it. Also, just like I want you to work really hard to get the SAVE Act passed, because you will make a contribution to saving our democracy if you do that. I want you to, I don't know how to say this the right way. I don't want you to complain if the price of gasoline goes up, because it's going up for a good reason. It's going up because we are eliminating the worst or second worst regime on the planet. That is at the core of the inability to make peace in the Middle East, and where the possibilities for this country are endless. This is a beautiful country with enormously talented people, with a great culture. And it's one where my feeling, based on my analysis of what's going on there, This will be a country that appreciates what we did. Much like the situation we had in Italy, in which the nation building was pretty darn easy because they appreciated the American liberation. So did the French. They may have forgotten, but they did. To some extent, even the Germans. Japan was an interesting situation. Japan didn't have to turn out that way. It's because of one great man that it turned out that way. A man who doesn't get his credit in American history, General Douglas MacArthur. And if he did nothing else but that, and whoever gets the chance to transition Iran from the American side, if we play any role in that, should go read what MacArthur did in Japan. And of course, there is no emperor, and it isn't the same thing, but it is really. It's it's an understanding of how you cannot eliminate everyone because in some way they serve the regime. Because if you do that, the trains aren't going to run, the schools aren't going to operate, the food's not going to get delivered, and you're going to have chaos, and some other maniacs will come back. You've got to look at the level, realize what you got to keep going, make sure you have it, and slowly make that transition with a great deal of respect for their culture. I would suggest whoever do it, go, I don't know, spend the next 3 weeks reading the history of the Persian Empire. Find out who Cyrus is. If you don't know who Cyrus is, the president should say, get lost. This is what we did wrong in Iraq. So here's the key. Intelligent people learn from their mistakes. Not only do we have a mistake to learn from, we have a success to copy. I don't know, did Bremer ever read MacArthur's biography? If I had been put in charge, the first thing I would have done is read MacArthur's biography. On September 11, when my city was attacked, in a way that reminded me of the Battle of Britain or what was going on in Israel. First thing I did when I went home is to start reading Winston Churchill's biography about the Battle of Britain and how they handled it. And then I didn't have to read because I had been in Israel, how the Israelis handle bombings and called some of my friends there, including later Prime Minister Netanyahu. Human experience is almost never unique, and it's never a complete reproduction. It's a combination of both, and that's where history is so important. Because history, you'll learn what works, what doesn't work, and then if you have a sensible, open mind, you can watch it happen. The reason I tell you not to worry about the price of gasoline is, we're headed to gasoline nirvana. I mean, they're going to be giving away gasoline at some point. If you keep the Gulf of Hormuz open and you eliminate the possibility that it will ever be closed again by getting rid of the regime of terror, if you transition to a responsible government in Iran, responsible in the sense that it treats its people fairly and decently, and responsible in the sense that it deals with the rest of the world in the same way. If you accomplish the same thing in Venezuela, almost even if you don't, since we now have all their oil, if you've got Venezuelan oil and Iranian oil not sanctioned, you've got America that's producing more oil and natural gas than it ever has, with a capacity to quadruple that. I mean, the price of gasoline is going to have to get adjusted so it doesn't go down so much that they stop doing. I mean, one of the problems if the price goes down too much, they stop doing research and experimentation and development for new oil. So We're going to be in that, by a year from now, we're going to be in that position. So consider the slight increase, your contribution to freedom, not only for Iran, but for the Middle East and ultimately for the world. And stop complaining. You're very lucky to live here. I know I'm not running for office. Maybe I wouldn't say it that way if I was. I know enough about politics to know you can't do that. And I'm not suggesting the president do it. That's why I'm doing it. But boy, you really become pretty damn selfish. Huh? Gasoline is less right now than it was at any time during Biden's. And Biden wasn't doing anything. Who knows? Maybe he was stealing money, but he wasn't doing anything. And gasoline is less now than it was then. Many prices are way down. The overall inflation is, in my lifetime, nothing. I lived through 9%, 10%, 12%. I lived through stagflation. And Americans stuck together. Stop this crap. You're so lucky. All you got to do is look at our immigration problem, which tells you many things, but it tells you one thing. You don't have to take a poll to figure out what's the greatest country on earth. People accomplish that poll with their feet. Yeah, are they dying to get into Iran? Oh, all these people going to Russia. It's unbelievable. Or China. Wow. They love to go to China because if they make a mistake, they can join the Uyghurs. Or maybe if you look good enough, they'll take your heart and sell it. So Ted and Stephen, how much time do we give Mostada Khamenei?
Have we seen him? Have we seen him alive yet?
I don't know. There was a report yesterday that he was injured yesterday. We can't find any confirmation of that. But I have found this. No one really knows the extent of his original injury. Mm-hmm. Remember, his wife and his kids all died. Yeah. And they were right with him. Maybe he pushed them in front of the bomb. Who knows?
I think that's the story.
You think so?
I think that's what it's going to be.
Don't tell the president that. He'll get in trouble.
Yeah. He's not coming out. He's not showing himself. We have some video of a ceremony.
There is a possible reason why he's not showing himself.
Well, no kidding, right? And it's like, man, I would just name someone who's just never going to show up, and then the real guy can kind of like.
You see this young man Pennington who lost his life tragically. He's probably one of those guys that was the Space Force. Oh, yeah. I don't want to give away things I shouldn't, but I mean, just conceive of the fact that we can see a lot of stuff. Yes. Because what we got up there.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, so that's public. The satellite.
Well, a lot of it is public. So,
but then using it and the ability to use it properly is a mess.
Mustada just went to the bathroom. He likes to use that bathroom right there. Yeah.
Oh man, you hear stories. The people who do
Mustada gets up in the middle of the night to urinate. What time does he usually get up?
They say the people who do the recon on him actually like grow slight connection with the target just because they're tracking them so closely and they know everything about their life. And then
I can take you back about 5 years, which is like half of what they can do now. And they would have it tracked completely. And if something didn't fit the model and they were starting out, they'd bring it all back. And they'd wait for a day where the model, like let's say he always had two security guys in front of his bedroom. Always, every night, 2 security guys. All of a sudden, you're flying toward there. You're looking, you see 3. Not tonight. Not tonight. That variable might be too much to go ahead with it. Let's call it off.
Well, and who's 3? Who's the third? Is
well,
it
then
our
you
guy?
figure you figure the third out, and you figure what you can do about him. Yeah. But it's all pre-planned. The more time they have, they will tell you this. Give us the time, and of course, maybe this is a teeny bit of an exaggeration. We can extricate anybody. Now, they're with time, their rates go well above 90%. Even without time, their rates are in the 80%, which is why
and the Israelis are even, I don't even want to know those numbers.
No longer. We're better than the
Is that
Israelis.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
We learned it from the Israelis. Now the Israelis work with us. And therefore, I thought that when the hostages were first taken, the best thing to do was to take an American-Israeli joint extrication teams and take the hostages out, despite the fact that they were in canal. They could solve the canal problems. First time I addressed a SEAL team, which was about 70 or 80 people. And it was a lecture on leadership. And I got to tell you, I was humbled to give a lecture on leadership. After it was over, I went up to the commander, who's quite famous. And I said to him, I don't understand. I'm looking at the guys, a couple of those guys, like they're about 5'5", 5'6". What are they going to? He said, I tell you what, but I recommend go over there and insult them because they can kill you in a second. It'll take them about 1 second to flip you around and snap your neck. And so they're just as lethal as the 6'4" guy. But number two, did you ever think I got to put people in sewers?
Yeah.
Well, I can't put that big guy in a sewer. He won't fit.
And
He'll
smaller.
get stuck in the sewer.
They're a smaller target.
See that little guy? He can come up a sewer. Who knows? Right through your pipes. He comes up, he comes out, and boom. He's got control of the place. Or he can do a reconnaissance of the place. So we know exactly where people are. He said, if you look at our group, including the women, and it's all very well modulated for all kinds of different tasks.
Sure. Well, that's the modern mission, right? And you even got people, it's not even athletic in a lot of places. Obviously the SEALs would be, but a lot of modern missions are very technical as we get into the more age of AI with precision weaponry.
So when he was arrested, Emir Balat was holding up his right index finger, which is the universal salute for the terror group. I guess it's like the Hitler thing, right? And he was grinning at the press. Yeah. This is exactly the same as the 19 people who on September 11 of 2001 came here and slaughtered us in New York, in Washington. It's the same purpose. It's the same movement. It's the same rationale. And I don't know if it's advanced since then and it's more extensive or less extensive, but it certainly exists in a pretty strong way. And it shouldn't be, not that many years after that terrible attack. And part of the reason is because we lie to ourselves and we permit our public officials, our so-called scholars, to lie to us in some kind of a stupid effort not to offend. Well, you're not doing them any good. You're not doing the Muslims any good by letting them think that it's perfectly okay to have a religion in which the leader says you should kill Christians and Jews. What good are you doing them? They have to come to their own rejection of that. And if they're not, and if they reject it, but they're too damn defensive to join against the others, then there's something wrong with them. You got to do something with them. You got to move them. This is really, really necessary if we're not going to pass this thing on to our children as bad or worse than was passed on to us. Read Rich Lowry today in the New York Post. He's got a very, very concise, but a very, very good article about how this is based on religion. And how the mayor of New York is exacerbating this tremendously. Mondami. His initial statement on this episode was a strong condemnation of Lang, Jake Lang by name. And then he did say, yes, throwing bombs is bad. But first he pointed out how terrible Jake Lang is. I have not done enough research on Jake Lang to tell you if it isn't exaggerated quite a bit. I'd be surprised if it isn't. I've seen too many of these that are exaggerated to the point of insanity. But in any event, when somebody is throwing a massive incendiary device at someone, that's not the time to tell us how bad he is. Jake Lang was a pardoned January 6th rioter, and he leads demonstrations. In this case, against what he believes is the Muslim takeover of New York, of which there is plenty of evidence in the appointments made by Zohran Mamdani. For example, he is just invited for dinner with his wife, Mahmoud Khalil. He and Mahmoud will have a very, very fine dinner because they both hate Jews. So they can talk a lot about their mutual hatred of the Jewish people. And this was in honor of his 1-year anniversary of his detention, because he created riots at Columbia that led to injuries, that led to enormous disruption for the campus. We're honored to welcome Mahmoud, Noor, and their son Dean to Gracie Mansion to break our fast together. This is Ramadan. I should have thought of that. When I first started dealing with this actually would be after September. I first started dealing with it in '79. But when I first started dealing with it after September 11, I was very struck by the fact that we always get these warnings. Raise the alert level because it's the last 2 days of Ramadan. There's more of a chance of an attack. Ramadan is a religious feast. This would be like saying, raise the threat level because we're coming to the Jewish high holy days, because the Jews are going to start attacking people. Well, these guys did this attack in the last 2 days of Ramadan. We didn't think of that. But the Jew-hating, Islamic extremist-loving communist who's mayor of New York has invited a fellow hater of Jews and follower of extreme Muslim, who America is trying to deport because he disrupted an entire university and also, they believe, gave aid and comfort to Hamas. And it's being held up by left-wing corrupt judges. When they render decisions like this, they're corrupt judges. It is a big problem on our federal judiciary. Another problem we're avoiding. And there's a photo, I don't know if you can find it, of they're all eating. And Khalil was born in Syria. He faces deportation because he is a Hamas supporter. And he is accused of committing fraud on his green card application. The president is using a rarely deployed statute that allows for non-citizens to be deported if their beliefs pose a threat to U.S. foreign policy. Maybe it should be used more often if non-citizens pose a danger to America. You're looking at the dining room of my former home. I'm pretty sure that's the dining room. They've changed some of the paintings, but those, as far as I can tell, those aren't Islamic paintings. Gracie Mansion at a formal dinner wearing what, a t-shirt, an undershirt. With great respect for Gracie Mansion, he's wearing an undershirt. I'm surprised he's not wearing a wife beater.
That's right. That's what we call him.
Well, he did. Well, I don't know if he did. I may have him confused with somebody else. I thought his wife actually wanted him gone, and then they got to her and she changed her thing. We got to be sure of that. So take that and do some research on it, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to we don't want to give you additional information. There's plenty on this guy Khalil. I don't know. Maybe the next one. Maybe he'll invite. Maybe he'll invite the new Ayatollah to dinner.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he probably would enjoy it. They have a lot in common.
We'll have to wait and see if we ever see that. I think Israel will take them both down.
You know, he's going to try to arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he comes to New York. Now, this will be really interesting because this will test the police commissioner, who, by the way, did a great job on this case with these two Islamic terrorists. The FBI did a great job. The police department did a great job. The U.S. attorney of my former office did a superb job. This is law enforcement at its best, largely because it's the New York Joint Terrorism Task Force, which is the best. The best. Go copy it. Some could say, because we always want to improve, there probably should have been an alert on at least one of these kids for going over to the Middle East and spending so much time there. Probably, but that's getting maybe a little bit too Monday morning quarterbacking. The police reaction, however, to them was nothing short of brilliant and heroic. Thank you, NYPD, the greatest police department in the world. And thank you to the FBI, which is back to what it's always been. A world-class, incredible law enforcement organization. There is a suspicion. There's a suspicion, but probably this comes from the Space Force, Ted. They picked up an encrypted message. It was back on February 28th. And they do believe, although they haven't analyzed it completely yet, but they're sending it out so that local law enforcement is aware of it. They do believe they're instructions from Tehran to activate covert sleeper cells, and that was sent out before this happened. Now, is there a connection between them or not? Are they truly lone wolves, or are they operating as part of a network? Their trip to the Middle East suggested maybe they're not lone wolves. And we'll have to see what comes. There's the sudden appearance of a new station with international rebroadcast characteristics that warrant heightened awareness. And this was on February 28th, so they've been operating for some time. Ted, have we shown people the picture, and do we have it, of the Iranian women's soccer team asking for help, putting out the sign for help?
Yeah, we got that.
Want to show it? I think I have it. Do you have it?
Yeah. So we're gonna find this. It was a signal for
members of the Iranian women's soccer team appeared to flash a help hand signal following their loss to Australia over the weekend. Several players scrambled to seek asylum amid fears that they'll be persecuted if they return home. So I don't know what's happened with them.
I believe 7 of them now have received
Well,
asylum. The problem is, their
7 have fled.
The problem is their families are back. So
Well, the only hope that I'll give them is things are so busy there now. Now trying to focus on their families. Let's hope they're not able to do it, or they just don't have the resources to do it.
I had a feeling that people were trying to help them, but immediately they were probably trying to secure the families or see what the situation was, right? Because they might be able to save the girl.
Well, remember there was that terrible attack just 2 weeks ago in Australia.
In Australia, that's right.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. We believe at least 7 have been granted asylum to Australia. But we'll keep an eye on that.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 have already sought officially asylum. They think there are as many as 7 to 10 that are missing. So let's see what happens with that. And let's see what happens with the school that has become a center of controversy. That was a school that was hit on the first day of bombing. And America has been accused of doing it. And they say that they killed 170 children. A girls' school in southern Iran. Note, however, not emphasized by the newspaper, but I'm just going to read this to you. What's unusual about this? And this is whether America did it, they did it, or some accident happened. During the first day of the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes against Iran on February 28, Sajara Tayyibi Girls' School. Did I get that right? What?
I think so, yeah.
What? How do you say it? Say it loud.
Musajiba.
Musajiba. It's attached, quote, attached to a military compound tied to the IRGC. Now, why do you tie a school to a girls' school to an IRGC compound? Isn't this exactly what Hamas does? So if you are slightly inaccurate with the rocket, or you are accurate, but our rockets are pretty damn powerful. If this is a Tomahawk, it's going to take out a block, maybe 2. 168 children and 14 teachers were killed. Now, who knows if that's true? I mean, we don't know. And the president, the president thought, which he's entitled to think, that it was a deliberate act on the part of this horrible regime that obviously doesn't. They wouldn't put the children's school next to the IRGC if they gave a damn about the children. Do you think we have schools for little girls next to Camp Pendleton, or next to a nuclear site where we're going to send off nuclear missiles? I don't think so. But so they have a school next to the secret police headquarters, which is what the IRGC is, one of many things. That's sort of like the SS. It would be like Hitler taking an SS headquarters here and putting 160 girls right next to it.
The red is the school, the orange is the IRGC.
Okay, look, I mean, my goodness. You couldn't possibly hit the IRGC headquarters with any kind, maybe with a drone. Maybe. You hit it with any kind of missile, that whole area is blown out. You're going to say, well, they shouldn't have hit those IRGC people. First of all, I don't know if they knew there was a school there. And if they did, they may have thought they were doing it more precisely. But this is a war. In tiddlywinks, as they say. Well, I was going to, but this will encourage you to come back tomorrow night. I was going to describe to you the discoveries that have been made concerning the use of sex espionage by China and Russia, and that it's more prevalent than you think. And there was a great study done of this. And we'll go over it tomorrow, and we'll see.
Come back.
And
a good topic.
And we'll see what implication is that. Since we've had some very, very famous and important American political figures that were involved in compromising situations like this. One of them's running for governor of California, the one with Fang Fang.
Fang Fang.
I mean, how much did he tell Fang Fang? He's got a big mouth.
Swalwell, Eric Swalwell.
And I mean, she clearly wasn't after him for his intellect, because he's an effing moron. And most Chinese girls are smart.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. Are they still together?
There's also a very, very good article by Malia Marks that I recommend to you about how open a chat GPT is a left-wing rag. She asked him to help her do an article, and it all came out left. And then she said that she wanted them to help her do an article that she could place in the New York Post. Okay? Here's how it responded. And my article would be a good fit for the Post, but they cautioned me against submitting it. They told me it could devastate my career. The AI is telling her this. They also went on to say it would reduce my credibility in academic or cross-partisan circles, whatever those are, making future placement in centrist or liberal outlets harder. These considerations were very important if, quote, I care about my academic reputation and want to publish in more centrist outlets later, or want to avoid being typecast. New York Post, founded by Alexander Hamilton, the oldest surviving newspaper in the United States of America, and one of the most successful, I might add, and the only one that had the guts to print Hunter Biden's hard drive, which turned out to be completely accurate, completely correct. And the lying prostitutes who wrote about the Russian hoax and got a Pulitzer Prize have the temerity to keep the Pulitzer Prize. And the Pulitzer Committee has never taken it from them, which means they were awarded for dishonest journalism, the highest level of dishonest journalism. So me, if I were to be given a Pulitzer Prize, you know where I would tell them to put it, which is my suggestion to the president with a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. If you give a Nobel Peace Prize to Obama before he started office for making peace, it's obviously a phony organization. And then he went and made war. So they should have taken it back.
Right. I'm with you. That checks out, you know, some.
We got to spend time. We want to get off because we really have extended our welcome here. But since I didn't do the 7 to 8, I feel
you're still, yeah, you're. Right,
I'm still on. I'm still on. You know, I'm still on.
Hour ahead of the rest of
yeah,
us.
yeah. But we have got to spend a lot of time on this James Tallarico.
Yeah,
James Tallarico may be worse than the woman that he replaced. Have you seen him and the things that he says?
Apparently he's a fake pastor.
Well, he looks like a nut.
He does.
No, he has this look like this.
He believes Jesus. Yeah.
I've been very good with that, Ted, all throughout my career, picking out the nuts by looking at their eyes. That's the old prosecutor in me.
Well, let's.
When they're walking around like this.
Well, let's play a little bit of Mr. Tallarico, shall we? The best of James Tallarico.
I teach you in Sunday school.
But what
Christ himself was a radical feminist.
He said Jesus was
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
We should treat our southern border like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes, which honestly,
How many did he say?
surprised me too. Surprised me too, because I am not well versed in this issue area. I'm not a scientist. I'm a politician, a lot worse than a scientist.
Did they teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist?
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between.
See, stop there.
Jesus was a radical feminist?
He supported women.
What's that? Well, he did. I mean, he saved the poor girl. He saved the poor girl who was going to get stoned.
That's radical for the time.
But you know what he did? Now, this will show how ignorant Tallarico is. Actually, it wasn't radical that was a trap laid by the Pharisees and the scribes. The Jews had done away with stoning women for 300 years before that. And they were trying to see if he was like not well informed, and
he was backwards.
No, they couldn't believe that this rabbi teacher came from little Bethlehem and Galilee. I mean, the Galileans were all backward as far as they were concerned, and he was more brilliant than they were. And they were always trying to trap him, and he was making jackasses out of them. We just got to read the Gospels. I mean, they're and if you read the Gospels just for that, it can be fun. It's hilarious how he. It's like they're constantly trying to should we pay taxes? Or because they thought he would say, "Don't pay taxes," and then they could get him arrested by the Romans.
He was nice to the tax. He's just a clever.
No, he said.
Wait, what did he do with the?
No. He was a smooth guy, right?
Zacchaeus.
He was as good as what's his name who plays him on Chosen. Actually, he was better. But so he said, "Give me the coin. Give me a coin." Whose face is on that coin? And the jerk off said, "Caesar." Okay, pay unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. He gave him the coin back, and pay unto God that which is God's. The monkeys were going, "What that mean? What that mean? What that mean?" I love that he who has not sinned throw the first stone.
That's an original.
Yeah,
well, they all are, I guess, on the Bible.
Well, obviously he was pretty talented. He was God. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, communication.
What did he? Okay, for fear of being the monkey in the room, so he hands back the coin.
Yeah, and they all ran. He hands back the coin, and they all walk away, disappointed that they couldn't get him. They were trying to trap him. They're trying to trap him into saying, "Don't pay anything to Caesar because Caesar is not a Jewish."
But is God? But then he doesn't render unto God what is God's, and that's life, or no?
One is temporal, and the other is spiritual. My kingdom is not of this world.
So they
couldn't get that. They couldn't get that. They wanted him to lead an army, overthrow. My kingdom is not of this world.
Yeah.
You don't understand. My kingdom.
We got James Tallarico you need to give him some lessons on the Bible, Mayor. You know the Bible.
I want to know what
that
phony church is that he's got behind him. It's not a Catholic.
Your Catholic sensibilities. I actually was kind of liking the church. I was like,
not a
that's kind of a
Catholic church,
sleek church. Look at that cool branding on the altar there.
Show it to me again, and then we'll sign off. It does.
It's so modern. It's
I want to see that. You see, if you look at the church, you'll look at the altar, right? And now we look right below the crucifix. Is there a little tabernacle there? Yeah. Well, that would be a Catholic or Episcopalian church. It wouldn't be Catholic because the Catholic altar now faces the people.
Oh, that's not a Catholic.
Oh, that's definitely not Catholic.
Well, but this looks like one of those trendy churches.
Could
in
it be
Sedona.
Episcopalian? I doubt it.
Or do they move the table for the guest speaker?
I don't think that moves.
That looks like it's connected.
I think that's built.
Okay, so what religion has the tabernacle where the celebrant turns away?
A lot of Christian religions don't have a tabernacle.
The acoustics look great in this room, and they have some panels.
Episcopalians have a tabernacle. I think the Lutherans do.
Do the Lutherans turn their backs on the
The Lutheran altar is like that. It's against the wall. Most Protestant churches have not turned around
like us
to face the people.
He turns around like throughout the process.
Yeah, but remember that was the way an old Catholic church altar. It was bigger than that. First of all, that would be too small to be a Catholic church altar, even in the old days. You don't have enough room for the 2 cards they have on the side. You have 3 candles on one side, 3 candles on the other.
You gotta break the bread.
Oh no, candles cause climate change, so they don't want that.
Are we against candles?
They are. I love candles. Nothing more human than a good candle burning.
So we got to check into this. I mean, people get away with this crap all the time. Reverend Al Sharpton never graduated from college. I don't think he graduated from high school. Never went to a seminary. Never had a church. I don't know where he was ever ordained a minister.
I think the Holy Spirit.
He was a minister of extortion.
The Holy Spirit can find those who aren't educated in the formal channels, but I agree with you in the Sharpton situation, but I don't want to make it a blanket
guy's a
rule.
grifter. You look up the definition of grifter.
That doesn't agree with what I was reading last night in Leviticus about the ordination of priests.
Well, if we're going to follow all the rules of Leviticus, I don't know how much luck any of us have.
Yeah, Jesus did away with many of those. Yes. He said even Jews don't follow all those laws. Not anymore. See, that's what Jews have done. That literally is all there, and God tells you. Tell me where there's a Jewish synagogue or whatever sacrificing goats. They don't. They just do away with all that. I mean, now somebody's going to come up with a place where they're sacrificing goats. That'll probably get them in trouble.
Right.
But so tomorrow we'll be back. We're going to tell you you gotta find out what sexpionage is. I got it right here. I know you're going to want to know how prevalent it is, and I can share with you my early days in reviewing many applications, foreign intelligence applications to go after the Russian communists.
Oh, they definitely use women.
I can't tell you what was in it, but I can generically sort of describe it. And I can tell you whether, in my experience, it was prevalent back then. I'm not going to tell you what that is yet. So please come back to us tomorrow. I'll 7
p.m. Lindell TV.
Lindell TV, which I apologize for missing today, but it was unfortunate. I had to.
Oh my gosh, they were stuck with me.
And then at 8 o'clock, America's Mayor Live.
Right here, live and in person.
How many episodes?
Tomorrow will be episode 883. That's 883 straight weeknights we've done live at 8 p.m. wherever we are in the world.
When we get to 1,000.
That's going to be this summer. It's in August. I've known this for a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Go to Michigan.
I asked Grok. I said, Grok, we started on October.
Grok is good.
Grok's a good one.
Is Elon's.
You just type, all you say is Grok. We started on, let's say, October 6th.
Elon is fighting for free speech against the European.
2022.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Europe has turned into in terms of speech, like a Nazi empire. I mean, the Germans the Nazis might as well have won the war for free speech.
Right.
And the French raided the Parisian office of X. So
yeah,
they're on a crusade.
Well,
but a bad one.
It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter as much because it's not going to be part of Western civilization soon.
Right.
When the English,
the U.S. will be the last
popular name last year, it was Muhammad.
Yeah, the Arc de Trade Mohammed.
We're the last.
It wasn't Chauncey or
the U.S. will be the last.
Percival or
Ivanhoe. Ted, I think we're going early.
Ivanhoe.
Who? America?
Well, in terms of the Islam.
Oh, I think he just means me personally.
No, yeah. England's small. It's easier to swallow up. And their religion is the English church is completely falling apart.
The Church of England.
Church of England is falling apart. There were estimates, and I've never been able to confirm them, that there are now more Roman Catholics in England than Anglicans, which would mean Henry VIII and Elizabeth I have turned around in their grave.
Right.
I mean, they killed a lot of people to make it Protestant.
To keep that from, yeah.
Now, to be fair, Mary, Queen of Scots, killed a lot of Protestants to try to keep it Catholic. So I don't want to be unfair here.
Oh, what difference?
We have our problems too, which we've both overcome. Catholics and Protestants do not kill each other anymore. We just stay there and wait for the Muslims in Africa to come and kill us. And they kill both of us in large numbers, Catholics and
Europe
Protestants.
welcomed them in, and we're kind of
Which we're going to spend
on the
We're
same.
going to spend a lot of time on because nobody else does.
Right.
So thank you very, very much for joining us for this broadcast. We hope it's been illuminating. We will tell you things you don't hear elsewhere.
Nowhere else.
And give you perspectives that you don't get elsewhere. When I say that, you will get it elsewhere, but you won't get it from the main media. There are plenty of people now that are on our side of truth. On truth, not our side. There's only one side. It's called truth. So pray for the people of Iran. Let's hope this can all be delivered with minimum loss of human life, ours and theirs. Pray for the people of Israel. After all they've endured, they're almost there to a possible peaceful existence. Possible. Pray for the people of Ukraine who are still, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, still being subjected to the atrocities of Putin. And pray for the people of the United States, and particularly for our president. People can say, oh, the president doesn't need our prayers. He's doing such a great job. Or the president's so terrible. Well, first of all, the president isn't terrible. He's a wonderful man. He's probably been, immediately, whether you want to fight with me or not, he's already one of our great presidents. But it's really because of the help of God. So, dear God, continue to bless him.
Right.
God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's